What's good, guys? We're back, season 3 of the Pittsburgh Pirates rebuild. And first season, we did pretty solid, I guess you could say. We were seeing what young guys we had to keep for the future. We were seeing who we could trade, kind of just a fill-out process of our roster. The second season, we made some moves in free agency. We signed some starters. We signed Tyon and Severino to one-year deals. They're gone. We signed Josh Bell to a one-year deal. He's gone. And we signed Lonnie Keller to a one-year deal. We re-signed him to a one-year deal, obviously, but in case you guys missed the last video, I'm going to show you guys what we did in the offseason, who we signed, who we brought in. But we signed Frankie Montas to be our starter, really our ace of our rotation. Now, there could be questions. Is he really an ace? He's 31, had a bad year last year. We're hoping he can have a bounce-back year. I mean, he kind of had a rough year. Not too bad of a year, but ERA over 4. We signed him to a 2-year deal. Not really nothing crazy, not a long-term commitment, just to, kind of give some of our younger guys time to develop, maybe potentially take over that role. And then Touki Toussaint, second starter, had a solid year last year, hoping for a better year. He's only 27, like I said, so he's still young. Could be a really good starter for us this year. And Andres Alfonso, only 22. He's had solid first 2 seasons in the major leagues, so hopefully he can keep that up in year 3. Zach Thompson had a solid year last year. Wasn't bad the year before either. He's really been, you could say, Mr. Reliable for our rotation. The guy who isn't really an ace, but just a guy who gives you good innings, gives you good ERA. Just a great starter to have. Mitch Keller, we're going to give him an opportunity to take that 5th spot in the rotation. Obviously, in 2022, he struggled with that spot. But last year, he put up better numbers. So we'll see what he can really do in that spot. And then Jackson Jobe, I was thinking about giving him a rotation spot, but he's only 21. Might as well give him another season to develop. And then Mitch Keller or Reed Detmers struggles, then maybe he gets the call and gets an opportunity. But we got a lot of young pitchers really entering the 70 overall mark. Contreras, Medina, and Quinn Priester. So those guys could potentially get an opportunity next season as well. In the bullpen, we added Jordan Hicks. Kind of an expensive deal, but Jordan Hicks is one of the best pitchers, relief pitchers in the game. He had a great year last year, even though he only pitched in 27 innings and 30 innings a year before. Really had a great season, so we ended up bringing him in. Trevor Richards is back. Amir Garrett we also added. Kind of pricey for Amir Garrett, $6.5 million, but coming off the year he had with the, I guess, I don't really know who he got traded to. He was with the Royals, but he came off a really solid year. We brought him in to be a lefty out of the bullpen. And John Curtis is back last year. Or no, he's got another year after this year. And then Yimi Garcia we brought back. He was electric last year. Then Miguel Castro struggled, but he's good to have as an extra guy in the bullpen. Lonnie Keller brought back as the closer. He had a really good year last year. Kind of struggled in the second half, but really had a good year. Henry Davis is going to be our catcher. We brought up a young backup, Abraham Gutierrez. We brought in Miguel Sano, who obviously brings more power to our lineup, which we kind of needed. I think O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds were the only 2 that had over 20 home runs. Josh Bell might have, but Miguel Sano's coming off a 37 home run year. Really a monster year. Hoping he can bring some power. We could plug him in the outfield or third base if you want to get another first baseman at the deadline or whatever the case may be. So it's good to have guys who can play all over the diamond. And then Jaylen Miller and Josh Van Meter will be our platoon at second base like last year. Jaylen Miller obviously struggled, but we're hoping for a better year this year. He's still only 27, and he signed to a long-term deal, only $1 million a year, so it don't hurt to give an opportunity to play in a platoon role. Then Josh Van Meter, coming off a good year, 19 homers, which is surprising for him because he's not really a power guy, but his powers develop against right-handers. 66 runs batted in. Really has been great. Another guy who can play all over the diamond. Brian Hayes, obviously he was hurt last year, so he didn't really get an opportunity to play a lot, but he put up solid numbers in those games he played. We're hoping he can stay healthy this year, kind of develop more power. Not expecting 20 to 30 home runs, maybe around 15 to 18 homers, somewhere around that. And, he's hit 277 both years, so he's really hitting good for average. Just needs to stay healthy and maybe develop more power. And then O'Neal Cruz coming off a 27 home run year. Expecting similar results from him this year. Kind of be our third power bat in that lineup along with Brian Reynolds and Miguel Sano. So really hoping for a good year from him. Miguel Andujar could have got a better left fielder, but, he had 85 runs batted in last year, so really he didn't have a bad year. So hopefully he has a good year this year. He is a free agent after this season. Depending on how he performs, we'll see if we bring him back. Brian Reynolds obviously has been Mr. Consistent, really our main guy in the lineup. Now he has help with Sano and O'Neal Cruz developing his power, so that's good to see. And then Nemo really struggled last year. He's on the last year of his deal. not a great signing. Hopefully this year he makes me regret saying that, but just not a great year. He really had a 1 year, 30 home run year, and after that it hasn't really been. Last year just wasn't it. And then Nomar Mazara we brought back because, I mean, he did, he did hit 22 home runs last year. I kind of forgot about Nomar Mazara, how well he performed. But we brought him back, 22 home runs, 85 runs, but really had a career year almost. Not a career year, but close to his career year, I should say. And really was good. So looking for another playoff run. We'll see how we're doing. I'll send me the draft, show you guys how we did. Obviously, I have not drafted well with this team, but hopefully this year's a new year, so I will see you guys at the draft. We're back at the draft, and I must say, for the first time with this Pirates team, I think I drafted a pretty good group of young players for the future. John Ball's our first pick. He's 18 years old, B potential, 67 overall. He might not be the best first-round pick, but he's still a B potential and really could be a guy we use next season in the rotation, so that's good. Ronaldo Castro, center fielder. Thought his stats looked pretty solid. Obviously, C potential, overall 57. Andres Chavez, a good relief pitcher, B potential, only a 59 overall. He's 23, so maybe by the time he's close to 27, 28, he'll be ready. Maybe before then, never know. Fred Dotson, first baseman, 22, C potential. Maybe he could develop into something. I figure we need some more first base depth. Our first base depth in the farm system hasn't really been very good. And then Jaquin Daly, 19 years old. Good starting pitcher, good lefty from the rotation to have in the future. He's got good stamina. He's 57 overall, B potential, so that's a good pick. And then this is our best pick right here, right fielder. He was a late round pick, Johnny Rush. I mean, 8 potential, 69 overall, so he really could develop into something very fast. And our outfield is looking pretty solid, but if Miguel Andujar leaves, maybe he could get an opportunity early on. We saw how Andres Alfonso performed when he got caught up early. Not every young guy's going to perform like that, but this definitely could be a guy we really rush into the farm system and have him be kind of our Bryce Harper, where we call him up quick, because he's already a 6'9" overall, so he's close to being really ready for a bench role or major league role. And then Thomas Charles, late round pick, C potential, 19 years old. Maybe he could develop into something. And then this was our last pick, Danny Rich. Not really nothing. Didn't sign him. So that's how our draft went. And I will see you guys at the trade deadline. And we're back. And it's the trade deadline. As you can tell by the depressing tone of my voice, we are not going to be making the playoffs this year unless we just go on a historic run, which is highly unlikely. We were first place last season's trade deadline. Now we're in last place, fifth place, whatever you want to say. And it's just looking like a lost season. We only got next season in this rebuild to try to get this team a World Series. It's going to be tough. We might have to spend some extra money. But, I mean, really, it's just been a lost season. And let's see how everybody's done. Brian Hayes, really not a bad year. I mean, I wasn't expecting too much power, but really he's not showing much power. He's still hitting good average-wise, so hopefully he has a good second half. Brandon Nemo's actually having a pretty good year. I mean, we might look to trade some guys off, maybe get some pieces to maybe make some trades. It's better to get something for him than nothing. I mean, we probably ain't going to keep Nemo around, but not a bad year for him. Brian Reynolds, still a good year, but the power ain't really there. Only 14 home runs. Maybe he'll finish around 25, 20. I mean, still not a bad year, but definitely not a power year for him. Miguel Sano, I mean, he has 18 home runs, 53 runs, but he's only hitting 175, and he has 138 strikeouts. So a lot of swing and miss, which is known for Miguel Sano. A lot of power in his bat, but a lot of swing and miss. But kind of expecting more of what he had last year, a 262 average. Could still finish with 30 home runs, but definitely a down year compared to last year. And then O'Neal Cruz, a down year as well, only 11 homers, 43 ribbies. He's striking out a lot. I mean, and only a 236 average, just not what we expected. Miguel Andujar, I mean, he has 12 homers, but the average is down. The RBIs aren't really high. Just a lot of down years from guys. And Mazara, I mean, he has 14 home runs, 47 RBIs, but just not really what we were expecting from a lot of these guys. Josh Van Meter's having a solid year. The average went down. The slugging OPS is all down, so really not a good sight to see. Just a lot of down years from these guys. And Henry Davis is probably having honestly the best season compared to last season. I mean, he's having a great year. I know his numbers last year weren't that impressive, but he's definitely having a better year. Hopefully he has a career year, which looks like he has. Jaylen Miller, another guy we might look to trade. He just has not worked out. Was looking to give him another shot, but he just has not hit at all. And we need some offense in this lineup. Abraham Gutierrez, not impressive, but a backup catcher. I never really expect too much, but we'll see how he does at the end of the year. And then Marcano, not really known as an offensive guy, just a defender, so didn't really expect much. Peguero hasn't done anything, 0 for 17, not great for him. Last year he was really good. So really our lineup just hasn't really performed. It's been a lot of guys cold. I mean, Brian Hayes is performing well and Henry Davis, but just not a lot of power, not a lot of average in this lineup. Just really up and down, just a bad year for our lineup. Just not great. And we go to the rotation and bullpen. Frankie Montas has been very, very good this year, so no complaints with him. 9-5, ERA of 3.01. He's healthy. So health and ERA is always what I look at, and he's done that this year, so good for him. Touki Toussaint really just having a bad year, 2-9, ERA of 5.55, just been terrible this year. Andres Alfonso's took a step back as well, ERA of 4.68, 7-10, just has not done very well. Zach Thompson's, like I said, Mr. Reliable. He always seems like he has an ERA around 3 or 4, never really higher than that. He's not an ace, but he's a very reliable arm. I don't know how his overall is dropping, but a good year from him. Then Mitch Keller, another guy we might have to look to ship out because he's just not been good. Maybe a change of scenery will help him out because he is just, last year I thought he was taking a step forward, and in this season it just goes right back to that ERA of 6. And then Reed Detmer is also struggling, just not been his year. I mean, he's been giving us innings, but that's about it. Amir Garrett's been pretty solid. Obviously, it's going to be hard for him to replicate last year with the ERA of 1.06, but still a solid year. Trevor Richards has not been good. ERA over 5, just not been good. Free agent after the year, maybe we trade him, give him a change of scenery. Yimi Garcia's been good, another guy we could look to trade. We look like we're going to be sellers. Ain't going to be our year to compete, like I said. So a lot of these guys can be shipped out, maybe give some younger guys a time to shine this year, see what we got for next year in the final year of this rebuild. And Miguel Castro, another guy, just struggled with the Pirates. I don't know what it is. He just has not been good since we signed him. John Curtis has been solid. So we got another year till free agency. We'll see if we keep him around. And then Jordan Hicks has just not been very good. ERA of almost 7. I mean, it looks like he was in the closer role for a little bit, and it just did not work out. 23 saves, 5 blown. Just not good. Keone Kell has been lights out. Could be another guy we look to trade. He is a free agent after the year. So there's a few guys we look to trade. Now I'm going to look at the minor leagues that everybody's doing, if there's any guys we can call up. Jackson Joby's been lights out, and he's a 76 overall. So I'm thinking maybe we trade Mitch Keller and give him an opportunity in the rotation because he's been really good and he's really developing. Then Nick Mears, Contreras has been good. Nick Mears has struggled. Medina's been good, and Will Crow's been good. Will Crow's been very reliable for us. He's went up in overall, so he's really been good. And, I mean, our minor league's looking pretty good pitching-wise, besides Aaron Fletcher, who hasn't really done much. We just kept him around for depth. And if I go look at the lineup for the minor leagues, Connor Scott's playing really well. Not really well, but pretty solid. Newton Hernandez is playing pretty well as well. I mean, he's only see potential, but I mean, still 21, so he could definitely develop into some. Lonnie White, an outfielder we have high hopes for. He's only 21, 75 overall. He's definitely developing. Looks like a really good hitter. Or not a really good hitter, but looks like he could have some power and some good fielding. So he could be a guy we look at next year maybe as well if Andujar doesn't come back. Or maybe we trade Andujar and give him a shot this year. It's definitely a possibility. And then Bubba Chandler wasn't going to be a guy we look to give a shot. Maybe we call him up right now because a lot of our guys on the bench have not performed either. So there's a lot of opportunity for the rest of the season with our team. And I think it's a good thing, but also a bad thing because this is not where we expect to be. But we could also see what we got for the final year of the rebuild next year. See if we could maybe package them in a trade or give them an opportunity. And free agency, we might have to spend a little bit more money because we have really fallen off this year, and I think it's because we didn't want to spend that money, which the Pirates aren't likely to do. I'm not going to go crazy with it, but I'm going to sign maybe a few key free agents. So I'm going to look through some trades, look to see who to call up. If I make any big trades, I'll show you guys, and we'll get on at the end of the season. So I made some trades, and obviously we weren't buyers of the deadline. Record's not where we wanted it to be, just a down year. And since next year's the last year of this franchise with the Pirates, this rebuild. Just wanted to, trade off some guys we weren't going to bring back, start off fresh in the offseason, maybe see what we got in the minor leagues with some guys. So, going to go through the trades we made. We traded Miguel Castro. Obviously, he struggled really bad for us. There was no point in keeping him around long term. It just wasn't a good fit. So, we traded him to the Mariners for 3 young players. Felt like we stacked up our minor leagues a little bit. And then we traded Trevor Richards of the Phillies for a young relief pitcher and a young right fielder. And then Jaylen Miller obviously just wasn't working out. And there's other guys who could get an opportunity at second base in the minor leagues who were performing well. So we traded him for a starter and a left fielder. And then we traded Miguel Andujar. Obviously, as you guys know, I had hopes for Miguel Andujar. He played solid the first year. The second year, he was pretty good. And the third year, his average was down. His home runs were pretty solid, but his RBIs were down. Just wasn't really working out. Probably weren't going to bring him back. So we got a young relief pitcher in Justin Bruhl for him. And then we traded Brandon Nemo. Was in the last year of his 2-year, $20 million deal. And, I mean, he was having a solid year, but obviously we just weren't going to bring him back. A lot of these guys we just weren't going to bring back. So we traded him for a catcher and a right fielder. And then we traded Mitch Keller, who just hasn't worked out. He had a good year last year, but he's back to pitching to an ERA over 6 this year. So we traded him for Orlando Cruz from the Cubs. So that's the trades we made. Now, I'm going to show you guys what we're looking at lineup-wise. Obviously, we kept Brian Hayes. Lonnie White, we're going to give him an opportunity in left field. He was performing well in the minor leagues. He's only 21, so maybe he could be our everyday left fielder next year. We'll see. And then we kept Brian Reynolds. Sano, I was thinking about trading, but it's like he's a power guy. We need the power. Hopefully he has a bounce back here next year. And then O'Neal Cruz, obviously we ain't getting rid of him. Nomar Mazara kept around. He is on a 1-year deal, but he is an extra outfielder. We didn't really have too many outfielders in the system, and there weren't really outfielders to trade for that were like high overalls. Josh Van Meter we kept around. Obviously he still has another year. Might as well keep him around. He's performed well. And then Nick Gonzalez we called up, going to give him an opportunity at second base. We moved Van Meter to first base and put Nick Gonzalez to second base. Going to just give him an opportunity. He's 76 overall. He's only 24. I mean, the season's a lost season, so might as well give some young guys some opportunities. And Henry Davis obviously going to be our catcher. He's up to 85 overall, so he's really getting up there in overall. And then our bench, Peguero, obviously he struggled, but hopefully he can turn around. Abraham Gutierrez. Bubba Chandler we ended up calling up. A guy I was telling you guys about. He's only 21, but he was a guy that was performing well in the minor leagues. So I thought, why not bring him up? And then Travis Swaggerty, another guy I brought up just to be our extra outfielder. He's on the 40-man. He was having a solid year in AAA as well. So I thought, why not give him a bench role? And then that's our lineup and bench. So for our starting rotation, most of it's the same besides the 5th spot. We got Montas, Toussaint, Alfonso, Thompson. Then we brought up Jackson Joby, the young guy we've been wanting to see in the major leagues for a while. We got in a trade last year, and I think he's ready to be a contributor to our rotation, so hopefully he performs well. We also called up Will Crow, who was pitching well in the minor leagues. He pitched well in 2022 for us. Just really had too many relief pitchers pass him up in the depth chart, but he's back up here. Going to put him in that long relief role, see how he does. Detmer's also going to stay in that long relief role. Justin Bruhl, the guy I got in the trade, going to give an opportunity. He was pitching well in the minor leagues. Maybe he has a good year, and maybe he's a guy we keep around. So we'll see how that goes. Yimi Garcia looked to trade. I know he's 33 on the last year of his deal, but just there wasn't really nothing out there that was even worth trading him for. So we'll see how he does. Maybe we bring him back as a veteran. We'll see. Amir Garrett also looked to trade. Nothing really spectacular offered, so we'll keep him around. Might just let him go as a free agent. We'll see. Then John Curtis, Jordan Hicks. Hopefully next year is his year, because this year just hasn't been it for him, unfortunately. And then Keona Kella, was thinking about trading him, but might keep him around as a closer. We'll see. So that's a lot of the changes we made. Obviously, a lot of selling at the deadline. And we'll see how these guys perform at the end of the season. So I'll see you guys then. Season's over. We're in the off season. The Astros ended up winning the World Series, which is not really surprising. But we ended up winning 69 games only, and just not a really good year. We finished 20 games out of first place. Just not a good year overall. But we're going to see how everybody performed. And then we'll get to the free agency signing in the off season, and we'll get on to the last season of this rebuild. So let's do it. So Brian Hayes had a solid year. The power was about what it was the last 2 years. Kind of expect a little bit of growth in that, but still not a bad year. Hit over 280, drove in 59. It's not a bad year for Ke'Bryan Hayes at all. Lonnie White, the young guy we brought up, performed well. Drove in 22, hit 5 home runs in a limited time, only 47 games, so really impressive for him. Brian Reynolds had a good year. The power was obviously down, but still a solid year overall from him. Still had good average. He led the league in walks, so that's good. So not a bad year from him. Miguel Sano had a bad year average-wise, but he still drove in 89 runs, had 31 home runs. So we kept him around. Has another year on his deal. It's the last year of the rebuild anyways, so why not keep him around, give him some power. Then O'Neal Cruz, just not a great year. I mean, he had a down year compared to last year. The power is down, the OPS, slugging, all that fell down. So hopefully next year is a bounce back. Nomar Mazara had another steady year. It seems like he's found his place here in Pittsburgh. I might bring him back because he's performed so well. Maybe he's a bench guy or maybe he's a DH again. We'll see. Josh Van Meter won a Gold Glove at first base, and Ke'Bryan Hayes also won a Gold Glove at third base. And he hit 22 home runs, so he's really developed that power here in Pittsburgh. It's good to see. He's really developed into a good player for us and could be our everyday first baseman next year. Nick Gonzalez played pretty solid, limited time, but still played pretty solid. And Henry Davis, not really doing much offensively. Hopefully he develops a little bit more of his bat the next few years. His contact against lefties just went up to a 95, so that's really good. And his fielding's excellent, so that's good to see. Peguero had an okay year, didn't really play too much. Abraham Gutierrez didn't do too much, but he didn't really play. Bubba Chandler had a good year in limited time. Good to see that. And then Travis Swaggerty had a good year in limited time as well. So some of our young guys we brought up really performed well. And then rotation, Frankie Montas, 15-8, ERA under 4. No complaints there. Pitched over 200 innings. Great year. Tuki Tucson is not the year we were hoping from him. Hopefully next year he bounces back. Maybe we go out and sign an ace to really be like our ace in our rotation. We'll see what's available. But really just need a bounce back year from him. Andres Alfonso kind of took a step back as well. I mean, not a terrible year, but not as good as his last 2 years. Zach Thompson, ERA went up a little bit, but still very reliable for a 4-starter. And then Jackson Joby, ERA close to 5, kind of just got that experience this year. We might make him a starter or a long relief pitcher. We'll see who we sign. And then Reed Detmers just didn't have it this year, ERA over 5. Justin Bruhl pitched pretty well in limited time, so that's good to see. Yimi Garcia, ERA jumped up to over 4. Probably won't bring him back. He's dropping overall and he's 34. Amir Garrett, not a terrible year, but we kind of expect a little bit more consistency compared to I know the 1.06 ERA is going to be hard to match, but kind of expect a better year. John Curtis has been reliable the last 2 years. I don't know how his overall is dropping, but he has another year of arbitration. Probably will bring him back. Jordan Hicks had a better second half. His ERA, as y'all saw, was close to 7, so it's good to see him get that ERA down. Still not a great year, but could have been a lot worse. Adonis Medina got called up, didn't really pitch. Keone Kela, solid year, ERA under 3, so that's how everybody performed. I'm going to go ahead and do the exclusive free agent negotiations, rebrand the staff, do all that stuff, and I will see you guys at free agency. And we got some money to spend. We don't have a lot of long-term commitment and contracts, especially since we got rid of a lot of guys who were going to be free agents. So really, we got some money to spend. Not going to go unrealistic with it because I know the Pirates ain't going to spend a boatload of money on a guy like Juan Soto or Shane Bieber or Pete Alonso, anybody like that. But we do need some bullpen options. I went ahead and offered a few guys deals. We offered Austin Adams a 1-year deal. He's 33. He's coming off a down year, but he's going to be cheap. Could just be a guy to have in the bullpen. And also offered Alex Reyes a 1-year deal. He's only 30. Obviously, health's been a concern with Reyes, but he's been healthy in this franchise. And he's coming off a down year, but he'll be cheap. We offered him $2.5 million for 1 year. The Cardinals offered him $1.9 million, but I think he'd be a good addition to the bullpen. And then there's a lot of closing options out there now. We could offer Gallegos money. I mean, I know it's the last year of this franchise, but I mean, I don't know if we really want to offer to a closer. Lucas Sims would be good, but I think Keone Kela would do a fine job in that closer role. I think we could sign one more relief pitcher, maybe like a Blake Trinan, maybe offer him like a 1-year, $7 million deal. I know that's a little bit higher than what the Rockies offered, but he'd be a good addition as well. Add those 3 and keep maybe Will Crowe and Justin Bruhl in there, and I think we'll be pretty solid in that bullpen. But we also need an outfielder. And obviously Juan Soto is a guy I would love to have. He's one of the best players in the world. He's only 26. He's young. But would the Pirates realistically offer Juan Soto that type of money? I'm thinking not. So I'm trying to keep more realistic. Obviously, Tyler O'Neill would be a good addition as well, but I don't want to go overboard and sign too many former Cardinals. But I think O'Neill would be a good fit because he's got power. He's a good outfielder. So I'm going to offer O'Neill. He's not going to be overly expensive. I'm going to offer him a 4-year, $65 million deal and see if he accepts that. It's looking like he's in favor of accepting that deal. And then really everywhere else, I mean, catcher, we got Henry Davis. First base, we got Sano. Second base, could use an upgrade. I mean, we could move Sano to DH like we did at the end of the last season and maybe sign a second baseman. I mean, Brandon Lyle's a free agent, Garrett Hampson, Jonathan Scope. There's nobody really here that you just go, man, we have to have them. And then third base, obviously we have Ke'Bryan Hayes, so there's really no need to get a third baseman. Shortstop, O'Neill Cruz did struggle, but I still trust he'll turn it around unless we put him at DH and sign like a Correa or somebody like that. And then, like I said, the outfield, we got 2 solid players. We need a third. Tyler O'Neill fits that. And starting rotation is kind of a question mark. I mean, we struggled last year, but I think our offense was a part of it too. We didn't get a lot of run support. Montage is good. Touki Toussaint hoping for a bounce back year. Then Alfonso, Thompson, and Jackson Joby could really be our 5. And then Detmers and Contreras could be our long relief. Contreras is out of options, so we could call him up. And I think that's good. So I'll let you guys know what we do, and I will see you guys at the start of next season. The start of the final season, I made some pretty crazy moves. Some I probably said I wasn't going to make, but some of these free agents didn't really get offered a lot of money. We ended up snagging a few of them for really not too high of a price, but we're going to look through the team. We signed Freddie Peralta to be our ace. 1 year, $17 million. I didn't think it was too bad of a deal. He had a down year last year. We have an ace now. Him and Montage can be our 1-2 punch. And then we have Toussaint, Jackson Joby, and Zach Thompson. That'd be our 1-5 in our rotation. Then Detmers and Contreras will be our long relief pitchers. Jordan Hicks still here. We signed Blake Trine into a 1-year deal, $7 million to be our closer. Austin Adams, we also signed to a 1-year deal, only $4.5 million. Coming off a down year, but good arm to have in the rotation. Alex Reyes, we also signed. Unfortunately, I heard the news today he's having another surgery. Man, I was a huge Alex Reyes supporter. It sucks when guys have so much potential but can't stay healthy. So hopefully Alex is good to go for next season. I don't know if he'll ever be back in a Cardinal uniform, but I hope he's good and finally gets healthy, because when he's healthy, his stuff is electric. So hopefully he gets better. Then we signed John Curtis, or not signed, but we kept John Curtis. And then Justin Bruhl will be a guy, you know, if there's an injury, we'll bring him up, and same with Will Crow. Then Keone Keller, I know it says he's in a closer role. We're going to put him in a relief role, move Blake Trine into our closer role. Henry Davis still the catcher, Miguel Sano still at first base. Josh Van Meter and Nick Gonzalez will be our second baseman. Ke'Bryan Hayes obviously at third base. O'Neill Cruz at shortstop. And then we have also Ligero and Bubba Chandler will also be our backups. Tyler O'Neill signed with us. $16.3 million for 4 years. I know it won't matter because it's the last season of the rebuild anyways, but still a good investment for left field. He's a power guy. Center field, we got Brian Reynolds. And then in right field, we signed Juan Soto. I know it's crazy, but he wasn't that expensive. I know $27.9 million is a little bit expensive for the Pirates, but I was so tempted. I really want us to make a playoff run, and our lineup struggled. So I thought, man, we got to bring in Soto, and him, O'Neill, and Reynolds are a hell of an outfield, and I think they will carry us to the playoffs and possibly a World Series. I think we made the right moves. So hopefully you guys enjoyed Season 3. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys for Season 4.